So, guys, Manchester United are in UEFA Europa League action on match day 4 of the brand new UEFA Europa League format in the league phase on match day 4 on Thursday evening at home to Greek club Paok on match day 4. For me, this is a must win game for Manchester United on Thursday night. So far, 3 points from 9 from our first 3 Europa League games isn't exactly where Manchester United expected to be. I don't think anyone from this fan base or supporters expected us to be 3 points from 9. And I think really realistically, we should have won all 3 of our first opening Europa League games where we took the lead in all 3 of them and threw the result away in every game. And for me, this is Ruud van Nistelrooy's big test if he can get Manchester United competing on the European front, because obviously Paok are currently second in the Greek Super League. They've won 6, drawn 2 and lost 2 and are currently sat second in their league. So I don't think Paok are going to come to Old Trafford and really fear that Manchester United are going to take them to the cleaners. I think Manchester United, again, are relying on miracles to survive in this Europa League. Obviously, this is the only way back into the Champions League for next season. And I want Ruud van Nistelrooy to do well. And what I don't want the fans doing, and what I don't want some of this section of Man United supporters doing, is blaming Ruud van Nistelrooy for this mess that Manchester United are in this European competition. I don't want the fans pointing fingers and blaming Ruud van Nistelrooy that Manchester United have failed to get out of the Europa League. I'm not blaming Ruud van Nistelrooy. I don't think really it is his fault. I think he's been put in a position where it's massively unfair that he's under even more pressure than before to produce results. And I don't want the fans and supporters blaming Ruben Amorim when he comes in either if we fail to get out of the Europa League and get into the knockout phases, because the whole blame for me is on Erik ten Hag and Ineos for putting Manchester United in this position in the first place. I don't know what Ineos were thinking when we were sat there on 3 points and I'm probably thinking, oh, it isn't exactly that bad. At least we haven't lost a game in Europe this season, and at least we're unbeaten. But we've been in a win position in our first 3 games and we have thrown all 3 leads away. I don't know why Ineos didn't make a decision quicker rather than later to sack Erik ten Hag, because they could see that the Europa League was the best option to get back in the Champions League for next season. And if we don't win the Europa League, we are going to find ourselves back in this again next season, where we are playing Thursday night football for back-to-back seasons. That is not where I want to be. I don't think Manchester United fans want to be in the Europa League next season. I think we want to be back in the Champions League. That should be the aim. That should be the credentials. That should be the target, to be playing on Europe's elite competition. But are Manchester United realistically good enough to be in the Champions League? No, we're not. I think if we were in the Champions League this season, we would be getting taken to the cleaners. We would be getting absolutely ripped apart by the opposition that we come up against. Manchester United wouldn't stand a chance. They wouldn't be able to compete with Real Madrid. They wouldn't be able to compete with Bayern Munich. They wouldn't be able to compete with PSG. But if you look at the Europa League, in our first 3 games, we can't even compete with FC20. We can't compete with Porto. And we simply can't achieve the results. We can't seem to get this burden of that we are favourites to win this competition. Manchester United should still come out on top and win the Europa League. And if we don't, it's going to be the biggest L this football club has ever faced, where you've gone into a European competition, you're expecting to win it, you are the favourites to win it, and you're not going to do it. And to get back in the Champions League is going to become even more harder to achieve for the rest of the season, where if you're out the Europa League, where's Manchester United's next avenue? Where is Manchester United's next destination? How are we going to get back in the Champions League, where we're in the competition? That was our best chance to do it, and we get knocked out of it. And I'm not going to blame Ruud van Nistelrooy if it goes wrong. I'm not going to blame Ruben Amorim. It's Ineos and ten Hag's fault that we are in this position. A decision should have been made sooner rather than later. And unfortunately, I think Ineos sat there and probably thought, well, do you know what? 3 points from 9 isn't bad. At least we haven't lost. At least we're unbeaten. And at least we're not, anywhere near the elimination zone. But we are near the elimination zone. If we get knocked out of the Europa League, our rest of our European campaign is over. We won't be in Europe for the rest of the season. Now, that for me is unforgivable. That is a disgrace. That is unacceptable. And I think, Ruud van Nistelrooy has got the world on his shoulders again, because Ineos have put him in this position where he's expecting to achieve results. The new manager isn't going to be here till the 24th of November away to Ipswich. And we are having to win this game on Thursday night because we are in a position where if we get knocked out the Europa League, then unfortunately, the European season will be over. There'll be no avenue back into the Champions League. And what's going to happen next summer and what's going to happen next season, we're going to end up back in the Europa League. We are going to end up scraping the transfer window again. And the players that the manager will want, we won't be able to achieve because we are not at Europe's elite table. And that is going to screw us up again. And then what that's going to turn to is that we end up sacking Ruben Amorim and the cycle repeats itself. That's the whole vision, I think, for this football club, is that we are trying to scrape by again. And I don't think it's fair. Ruud van Nistelrooy should not have been put in this position where he was expected to beat Chelsea. He's expecting Manchester United to win on Thursday, and then we've got to win again on Sunday. And I don't think it's fair. I think it's very, very disrespectful to put a club legend in this position where the new manager should have been in, and he's not. We're having to wait another 3 fucking weeks, which I don't think is acceptable. I think that's very, very unfair for Ruud van Nistelrooy to be expecting to get results where we've got a depleted squad, we've got players going back to their old ways again, and we've got players that basically, please keep Ruud van Nistelrooy, please keep him at this football club, please keep him here. What you're going to end up doing, you're going to end up turning on Ruben Amorim, and you're going to be like, right, at least we've got Ruud here, he'll back us up, at least he'll support us, at least he'll be here when it all goes pear-shaped again. And I don't want that to happen. I want Ruud van Nistelrooy to do the best what he can do in his managerial career. I don't think staying at Manchester United is going to benefit him, because I think if he stays at Manchester United, then what's going to happen? The players will turn on Ruben. They will end up getting him sacked, and they'll be right, well, at least Ruud's here. Give him the interim job, and while you wait to find a new manager again, let him be in charge of the next 3 or 4 games, and we'll start playing well again. Manchester United did not play well on Sunday. We went back to the old ways of Erik ten Hag again, where we are still using Rashford and Garnacho on the right. And there's one simple solution to this, is that Amad Diallo gets given his chance. Amad Diallo gets selected on Thursday. Amad Diallo is starting that game. If he doesn't start and he doesn't get picked and he's on the bench again, if I'm Amad Diallo, I am looking at this very, very quickly. I've got about 6 months left on my contract. I'm not getting ahead of Rashford. I'm not getting ahead of Garnacho. I should be on that right wing, and I'm being completely ignored. I'm not getting the game time I want. I'm not getting used. I'm getting sat on the bench for every game. I'm hardly seeing any minutes. Where does my future lie at this football club? I don't think Amad Diallo is going to wait around for long. I think if Amad doesn't get selected Thursday, there is no point in him being at this football club, and I want Amad then to find a move. Obviously, that is not what I want to happen, but realistically, Amad Diallo needs to go and seek first-team football, and he needs regular minutes, and he isn't getting it. I don't know why he's not getting selected. I don't know why he's not starting from the start. For me, it makes no logical sense because, again, on Sunday, the biggest problem was on the right wing when we were integrating Rashford and Garnacho, and then they're swapping positions halfway through the game. Unfortunately, Manchester United aren't recognising that right wing is a problem. I think Amad Diallo is the only option we've got on that right wing, but we are still sticking to Rashford and Garnacho. And again, the solution is one of them's got to be dropped. And I think for me, on Sunday, Garnacho got a lot of hate on Sunday. He got a lot of unfair criticism, and he got a lot of fingers were being pointed and being blamed for Sunday's result. That, for me, is very, very unfair on a player that actually cares, that actually has the mentality, who actually wants to win. I don't know why people are blaming Garnacho for his performance on Sunday. Garnacho wasn't at fault on Sunday. Garnacho's the one who's actually trying to get consistent performances on the left wing. Unfortunately, when he's getting played out of position and he's getting played on that right wing, I don't know what fans are expecting. I don't know what supporters want from him when he's being played out of position. What do you want him to do? What do you expect him to achieve when he's being played there out of position because you've got him and Rashford in the same starting lineup? What are you expecting Garnacho to do? Produce bloody miracles? Expect him to put in world-class, phenomenal performances? I don't get where some of the fans and supporters' mentality is with certain players. It's like you're expecting them to produce absolutely phenomenal world-class performances. don't start pinpointing Garnacho was a problem on Sunday. The hate and the criticism he gets, I think, is disrespectful. I think it's unfair, and I don't think it's fair on a young player that's actually trying to get Manchester United winning on the pitch. And if you're going to criticise him, go and have a quick word with some of those Man United coaches, and go and have a quick word with Ineos, and maybe give Eric Ten Hag a call, and maybe have a one-on-one to Ruud van Nistelrooy and say, why are you not starting Ahmad with Garnacho? Why are you playing Garnacho out of position? Why has Rashford got to be starting every game? Because the big problem in this team is fucking Marcus Rashford. Again, he's not performing. He's not stepping up. And if he thinks he should be starting on Thursday, I don't think he should be. I think Rashford needs to be dropped. And I think it's about time for Ruud van Nistelrooy to make that transition without Rashford in the team, because I think he's had his chance. I think he's had his opportunity to prove himself, and he's not doing it. If he's not doing it, then why is he still at this football club? Why is no one putting pressure on Marcus Rashford to be dropped from the first team? Why has he got to be played every game? Why has he got to keep seeing minutes? Why has he got to keep being in the starting lineup? Why is Marcus Rashford still here? And I think the problem is with Marcus Rashford, he's on a big bloody contract. He's on stupid money a week. And unfortunately, I think Man United value that Marcus Rashford's the face of this fucking football club. And Manchester United really don't want to drop him, because if they drop him, Rashford's going to throw his toys out the pram and go out partying and clubbing while his teammates are fighting on the pitch. Because we've seen that so many times with Marcus Rashford, where if he doesn't get picked, he doesn't get selected, he goes and does stupid gallianting out on the terrace and going out clubbing. And again, surely that should have been recognised then. When we had that problem with him last season, where I think it was before the Newport County game in the FA Cup away, and he went out clubbing a few days before the game at the weekend, and he went out clubbing, and rightfully and deservedly he was dropped. That's the second incident he had at this football club under Eric Ten Hag. I don't think he's learnt from that. I think he's very, very selfish. I think he's bigger and he's better than the football club. I think his ego is incredible. I think he lives right up his ass. I don't think he puts the performances in that are justified with him. He doesn't deserve the money he's on because of his performances. And for me, it's about time we cashed in on him. I think we'd be bigger and better without Marcus Rashford. I think he's had his opportunity this season to prove himself. For me, this is his last season. And I think for me, Ruud van Nistelrooy has to start making statements with this team lineup. He's got to start making changes that are going to benefit us for the long term, because I don't see a long-term vision in a lot of that squad. I don't see a long-term plan with half those players. And I think the squad we've currently got is nowhere near to be able to compete with Bournemouth, if I'm being really honest with you. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy really needs to start making some drastic calls on Thursday and stop, giving these players a little moment of, you're not going to outlive this football club, and if you think you're going to be bending over me, you've got another thing coming. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy, he's doing what he can with the pressure he's under. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy's been put in this position because the new manager's not here. Again, I wanted the new manager in ASAP, and Manchester United have bottled it again. So blame Manchester United for as much as you want, because they are at fault here for not having a new manager in ASAP. And if we go out the Europa League, it's not Ruud van Nistelrooy's fault. It's the club and Ineos are putting us in this position in the first place, because I think the failure to win on Thursday, I think Man United need to make a call to sport and say, we need him in now. Like, we aren't waiting around here. We need him in now. We need you. We need your coaches. We need this manager in now, because I don't understand why he's not here. I don't know why we've got to wait till after the next international break. I don't really understand why Manchester United haven't got this new manager in place. I don't know why we've got to wait till the 24th of November, and I don't know why Ruud van Nistelrooy is in this position in the first place. I think it's unfair. I think it's unjustified. And I think if we lose on Thursday, a lot of the fans are going to blame Ruud. And again, it's not his fault. He's having to pick these players. He's having to pick this team, and he's having to do what he can, because he doesn't really have that experience of being a full-time manager yet. And I think at Manchester United, where the expectation level is up here, Ruud van Nistelrooy's expectations are probably in the middle, because where Manchester United realistically are. And I think the results are based on that level of where we are currently at this moment in time. And you can't really blame him. You can't really pick on him, and you can't really blame him if it all goes wrong. But I think Thursday night's a big call for him. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy, if he wants to be a full-time manager and he wants to be at a top European club, he's got to be dropping the favourites. He's got to be dropping these certain players, and he's got to be dropping players that should no longer be at this football club, because again on Sunday, a lot of those players were at fault for the Chelsea performance. All of them were at fault for the goal. All of them were at fault for conceding a goal 4 minutes after you took the lead through a Bruno Fernandes penalty. And a lot of them shouldn't be playing for this football club again. But I think the problem is, again, what we're hearing, that Ruben Amorim is going to be allowed to evaluate the squad, but apparently it's Ineos who will make the final call on these players. And the problem is with that, we are going to end up in the same situation in 2 to 3 years' time, where we're going to end up sacking the manager, because the new manager isn't going to be allowed to be given full authority on the squad, on these players, and Ineos are making the calls. Ineos are making the decisions, and I don't think that's right. I think Ineos have got to listen to the manager. Ineos have got to listen to what Ruben Amorim wants. They've got to listen to the players he wants out. They've got to get in the players he wants in. And Ruben Amorim has got to be allowed to have full authority, because if we're in this position again, you've got to be questioning what the fuck Ineos are doing. Like, if they're not going to listen and they're not going to back the manager, and he's not going to be allowed full authority, but on the final call, it's Ineos' decision, I don't think that's correct, because you're going to end up in this situation where we end up sacking the manager again, and it's not going to work. It will end up crumbling again. And again, if Ruud van Nistelrooy does pick Rashford, and he does pick Dalot, and he does pick Lindelof, and he does pick Garnacho, and he does pick Xerxes, then again, you've got to question, who is picking this team? Who is picking these players? Because if it isn't Ruud, then who is it? Because, again, there was an article yesterday that Erik ten Hag never wanted to sign Joshua Xerxes, and you know what? I'm believing that bit of information. Joshua Xerxes should never have been bought by this football club, because 10 Premier League games, 2 Carabao Cup, 3 Europa League games, 15 games, 1 goal in all competitions. No, actually, if you think about it, 10 Premier League games, 2 Carabao Cup games, 3 Europa League games, and a Community Shield. So that's 16 games, 1 goal in all competitions. And again, Xerxes, even though it's not his fault, should have never been put in this position. We should have never bought Joshua Xerxes in the first place. And for me, his future lies away from Old Trafford. I don't think I'd be just starting Joshua Xerxes for the rest of the season. And apparently the article stated that Joshua Xerxes wasn't wanted by Ten Hag, because apparently Xerxes came into Manchester United as stone overweight. And again, do I believe the article? Do I believe that bit of information? And do I believe that, Ten Hag didn't want him? I think if it's true, Ten Hag didn't want him, then the football club have got to take responsibility, because so far what we've seen from Xerxes this season is 1 goal in 16 games. And again, that was a massive, massive mistake signing him in the first place, because I, for now, wouldn't be starting him for the rest of the season. I think Højlund has got to start putting the ball in the net, because that will send a message to Xerxes very, very quickly that your future at this football club is not going to last long. And I think so far, after 16 games, his future is over. Like, I can't see Joshua Xerxes' Manchester United career lasting very long. For me, he should have stayed in Serie A, he should have stayed in Italy, and he should have went to AC Milan when AC Milan wanted him. And I think now, looking back at it on hindsight, if you were to start Xerxes on Thursday, you're making a massive mistake, where Manchester United probably won't be able to find the back of the net with him starting up front. And you keep seeing him drift away from the striking position. You keep seeing him drift away into the midfield and trying to build up the play. Xerxes got to stay in his position, and we've not been seeing that from him. He keeps drifting away from the striking slot, which is for him. And he's drifting away into the midfield, and he's trying to win the ball as much as possible. But unfortunately, when he doesn't get the ball and he's not in the position we need him in, this is why we're not scoring goals. This is why we aren't consistent enough. This is why the ball's not in the back of the net enough. And this is why, again, Manchester United have got a goal-scoring problem. We should have signed a prolific goal scoring striker, and we don't fucking have one. We're stuck with Xerxes and we're stuck with Oyland. And it's not exactly like those two are ripping up any trees, because, how many games has Hoyland gone without a goal? I mean, it's gone way too long again. Like, the last goal Hoyland scored was against Brentford. Since then, it's been another dry patch. It doesn't surprise me. It really, really doesn't, that we're not scoring goals. So again, Ruud van Nistelrooy has got a striking headache, because we could have done with a prime Ruud van Nistelrooy right now. We could have done with Ruud van Nistelrooy down the middle, because he was always guarantee you goals. He'll always put the ball in the back of the net, and we simply do not have that player. We don't have that striker, and we don't have that consistency, and this is why we're not scoring goals. So I think logically, would you play a false nine and don't start Hoyland and don't start Xerxes? For me, that wouldn't really work. Or do you have to play one of them? I think the logical answer here is start Rasmus and then try and integrate Xerxes somewhere in the second half. But it's not exactly going to work with either of them starting, because neither of them are consistent. Neither of them are scoring enough goals. And I think if we were to rest Hoyland, it's a massive mistake. Again, I don't really care if these players need a break. I don't really care if these players need a rest. You are Manchester United players. You should be able to play every fucking game that you get picked or selected for. At the end of the day, you are professionals. You need to be getting on and doing your job. And I think with Xerxes, if he does start, it's a big call. But I think it's a mistake, because if he's not going to score on Thursday and he doesn't find the net on Thursday, then again, we're scraping for points again. We're just scraping for results. And I fully expect Manchester United to beat Paok. I mean, no disrespect. This should be a cricket score. This should be an absolutely monumental home win for Man United on Thursday night. But can you really trust these players? Can you really go with them? Can you really believe that they're back under the interim manager? Can you really believe that they're all trying and they're trying to perform to the level that you all know they can be? Or is it just, again, papering over the cracks, which I think it is? I think there was a lot of papering over the cracks on Sunday. A lot of these players, again, gave up after the Chelsea equaliser and let Chelsea at them. And that's the vibe I got. That was, that was the stuff I saw. When you see on the pitch that you're letting Chelsea batter you, that's a bit bloody worrying. When you took the lead on the 70th minute and then 5 minutes later you're conceding an equaliser, which was a really, really bad goal to concede, and that is when the morale went and the heads dropped. As soon as we concede a goal, the whole game just goes pear-shaped for Manchester United. And again, I don't think Paok are going to take any prisoners. I don't think they're going to come to Old Trafford and fear us. Like, they're probably looking at our results thinking, well, if FC20 and Porter can get a point off them, what can we do? And again, at the end of the day, this has not been the European campaign I expected. It's not the European campaign I wanted. And at the end of the day, we should be winning this. And I want to win the Europa League because I want to be back in the Champions League next season. But I just don't think we're good enough to be in the Champions League next season. I don't think we're at that level. I don't think we're good enough. And the truth hurts. The truth hurts. If we're not good enough, then we're not good enough. For Ruud van Nistelrooy's sake, I hope he gets this right. I want it to work out on Thursday. I really hope we win the game. I really hope we get the result. And I'm really hoping we take that momentum and we build on it. But at the end of the day, Manchester United are just too bloody inconsistent. We're just not good enough. And again, we should have had 9 points from 9 from our first 3 games. And we didn't. We've got 3 points from 9. And the position we're in is a bad one. Like, it's really, really shit. I think the equaliser on Sunday was so infuriating that I lost it Sunday. Like, I was so disappointed, and I said we wouldn't beat Chelsea. And again, I've been proved right. And again, it would not surprise me if Paok get an unlikely result. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be problematic. But at the end of the day, I've got to be realistic here. I've got to be open. I've got to be honest. Manchester United, I just don't trust them. They can't produce the results. They don't want to graft. They don't want to try. I mean, what's Ruud van Nistelrooy meant to do with that team on Thursday? It'll probably be the same team that played against Chelsea, because how are we going to be able to change the team? How are we going to be able to rotate? We won't be able to, because we've got a lack of fucking players available. And again, I'm not using the injuries as an excuse, but what is Ruud van Nistelrooy meant to do? How is he meant to change that team to keep it fresh? He won't be able to. will have to go with the same team again, because we certainly just don't have the players available. We've got no Mainu still. We've got no Mason Mount. We've got no Euro, no Maguire, no Shaw, no Malacia, no Anthony, no Ericsson. I mean, the injury list again, you have to question how the hell we're picking up all these injuries. Is it the amount of game time these players are getting? Is it the amount of training that they've been given under Erik ten Hag that's put them in this position with all these injuries they've all got? Or is it they just can't be bothered? I mean, one little niggle or one little injury, and they're absolutely crying for sympathy. They're crying for an answer of how they're going to get back in the team. And again, you've got to question the methods. You've got to question, are these players really trying to get out of this club by using an injury to cover up their excuse? Like, you never know. Like, it would be nice to have all those players we've got unavailable in that team for Thursday, because Ruud van Nistelrooy would be able to change quite a lot to freshen the team up. But again, he's in a curious position here. He's having to pick the same team for nearly 3 games in a row because he hasn't got the options. And again, that is on Manchester United for not providing them with a better squad to go with for the rest of the season. I mean, again, do we play 2 CDMs like we started on Sunday with Ugarte and Casemiro? Or do you push one of them further forward next to Bruno in the centre attacking midfield position and play 1 CDM? Because I don't think 2 CDMs benefited Manchester United on Sunday. I think that was really quite amateurish. I think playing 2 CDMs, that's what Erik ten Hag would do. He would park the bus and try and break the opposition on the counter-attack. That's very weak. That's quite a weak-minded mentality. And that was a manager who completely, utterly lost it. And I'm really hoping Ruud van Nistelrooy doesn't do that. I'm really hoping Ruud van Nistelrooy doesn't do what Erik ten Hag did and basically, went with, well, let's play 2 CTMs and let's park the bus and then let's break the opposition on the counter-attack. That's not what I want. I want to be able to go on the full attack every game. I want to be having loads of chances on goal. I want to be having loads of opportunity against the opposition. But I think playing 2 CDMs, why we've ignored trying to push one of Ugarte or Casemiro further forward with Bruno, made no sense to me. And I'm hoping we solve that Thursday. I'm kind of hoping we either play Ugarte a bit more further forward or we play Casemiro a bit more further forward, because I think Bruno Fernandes is struggling on his own. I don't think we're seeing the best of Bruno Fernandes lately. I think one good result, we've gone back to being shit again. And I think he's really struggling without someone next to him. I think he's probably missing Mainu. He's probably missing Mount. He's probably missing Ericsson, because when you play 2 CDMs, it's quite an amateurish performance because you are trying to break the opposition on the counter-attack, aren't you? I think all we're seeing for Bruno is long ball FC. I think all we're trying to see from him is pinning passes from the left to the right down to the middle. And I think without that other centre attacking midfield option, and you're playing 2 CDMs, Bruno's having to do most of the attacking creative opportunities to get that ball forward to our front three most of the game, most of the time. And I think that's not helping Bruno Fernandes. I think that's making things worse. And again, that really, really worries me how we're going to be able to break this Paok team down, because if the plan is park the bus and break the opposition on the counter-attack, we're going to be in for a long night. We're going to be in for a long, long game on Thursday evening, because we need that other midfielder to support Bruno. We simply don't have him. And again, we might have to take a risk. You either have to put Casemiro next to Fernandes or you start Ugarte, because again, Ugarte's been a blessing in disguise since he's been here. And the last few performances have justified him being selected. And I don't blame Ruud van Nistelrooy for selecting him, because he's our best CDM we've got. I mean, Casemiro ain't going to be here forever, and he won't be able to go on forever. And Ugarte's really started to prove the money we paid for him. He's really starting to show why we bought him in the first place. But I think we need to take a risk. I think we have to have that other centre attacking midfielder to support Bruno Fernandes to get the ball a bit more forward to our front three to create those attacking opportunities. Because if we don't, Bruno is going to end up getting lethargic. He's going to end up getting lazy. He's going to end up getting, fatigued, because he's doing most of the midfield work, because you've got 2 CDMs. Bruno ain't got no support. He don't get support from the other two. All the 2 CDMs do is basically protect the back four. We don't need 2 CDMs to protect that back four. You only realistically need one. So you've either got to go with a risk or we end up seeing two CDMs again. And again, that is not the way forward in my view. I think we have to take a risk of Agate or Casemiro and put him next to Bruno. Because if we want to create chances on the Paok goal and we want to create opportunities and score a few goals, we need that extra midfield depth to support Bruno to get that ball to the front three. But if we only see Bruno do it, then we're in big trouble again. Because that is what we saw on Sunday. With no extra midfield support next to Bruno Fernandes, where was that midfield? It was non-existent again. This is why I would have signed Rabiot on a free. Because that would have really, really helped us. Why Manchester United didn't look at it, for me, is a bloody joke. I don't know why we let him go to Marseille for free. Again, is quite a disgrace, really, because we could have done with extra midfield depth. And letting him go to a club that realistically are on the up now under Roberto De Zerbi in Marseille. Look at the quality Marseille have now got due to the players and the manager they're trying to build a team around. If we would have signed Rabiot, the Mason Mount, Ericsson, and the Mainu injuries would have been covered. We are now having to use two CDMs with one midfield left. If anything happens to one of those midfielders, and if Bruno picks up an injury, or Casemiro picks up an injury, or Agate picks up an injury, we are absolutely screwed. And again, I blame the club for not supplying Eric Ten Hag with Adrien Rabiot. And again, a lot of people didn't want Rabiot. A lot of Man United fan supporters did not want to sign Adrien Rabiot. But I would love to know where those fans are all now, because would you have signed him now with the midfield crisis we've got? I think we probably would have done it. But again, it's on this football club to produce miracles because we haven't got a squad. We've got players who are being relied on who can't be trusted because the others we need available are all fucking injured. And again, I'm not trying to cover the injuries as an excuse, but it's not helping. It's really not helping things. I can tell you that for a fact. But I think we're struggling to create. I think the midfield is struggling to get the ball to the front three because Bruno's doing all his own. So there's an interesting midfield dilemma. Do you play Agate next to Casemiro, to Bruno Fernandes, or do you start Casemiro next to Fernandes and you integrate them in the second half? Because you're not going to be able to change that midfield in the second half. Because if you do, we are risking having to play Lindelof at CDM. And that substitution on Sunday was absolutely debacle, absolutely laughable in my view. I couldn't believe in that second half when the midfield was tired, we brought Agate off for bloody Lindelof. So we're basically using Lindelof now at CDM, where everybody's saying, why don't we try Lindelof at CDM? Why don't we try Martinez at CDM? It's not going to work. And it showed on Sunday. It doesn't work. We don't have that extra midfielder we need or we wanted. And now look where we are. We are really, really in a space of shock because Lindelof can't do it. Martinez can't do it. And we're basically relying on the midfield options we've all got at this current moment in time to be able to work with what we've got. And again, if you would have had Rabiot in, we would have had another midfielder next to Fernandes and we would have played one CDM against Chelsea and probably one CDM on Thursday night. So again, it's quite laughable that we are struggling for midfield options. As for the back four, again, for me, the only really decent player we've got in that back four at the moment is probably Mazraoui. I think he was very, very good on Sunday against Chelsea. I think his performance is showing the levels of the right back that we need. I think for me, he's probably the best right back we've got at this club, in my view, because of what's happening at the left back situation. And again, a lot of people are now starting to realise that Diego Dalot isn't good enough. And I've been saying this since he arrived under Jose Mourinho. And again, a lot of people are now starting to see what I've been seeing, that Diego Dalot's performances have absolutely fallen off a cliff. And I'm not surprised by that. The Diego Dalot fan club has gone very, very quiet. They're probably in mourning because at the end of the day, they've realised that all this hype and all this praise and all this commitment that they've given to Diego Dalot, they've realised in the last few games that, oh my God, we should have realised this sooner rather than later that Dalot was never, ever going to be good enough. And playing him at left back every week is getting really boring. It's getting, quite frankly, now pathetic. And we're getting used to the mistakes from Dalot because he can't do the left back role. And again, it is on the football club for not having a fit left back. I still don't understand why we let Reguilon go back. I don't know why we terminated Reguilon's loan. I would have brought him back in the summer if we could have done a cheap deal with Tottenham. I think they would have sold him for quite cheap. And we don't have a left back. And when you put Dalot there, which again doesn't work, how are you expecting Manchester United to be able to get the ball forward from the left back to the left winger when there's no connection there? When we had Luke Shaw there, we saw the best out of Marcus Rashford. But now you've got Dalot there and you've got Rashford, who are both like clashing heads and both don't work in either of those positions, and neither of them are good enough. How are you expecting Manchester United to create how are you expecting Manchester United to create opportunities when there's no chemistry between the left back and the left winger? Neither of them can connect. Neither of them can help get the ball into the penalty area. Neither of them are being able to, get that forward line a bit more of an attacking approach, because it just doesn't work with Dalot at left back. And I think Manchester United are also starting to realise this, that we should have signed a left back in the summer. And obviously, I think Manchester United are probably regretting it, because now it's really, really, really starting to cost us. And I've been saying this. Why didn't we sign a left back in the summer? I think, again, it was down to the excuses of, well, financial fair play is a big problem. Sell to buy has to happen also as well. And again, two excuses that Manchester United can't really hide behind, because no one's going to believe it. Because like I said, if you had money to sack Erik ten Hag and you've had money to bring this new manager in, then money has been there to get a left back, hasn't it? All along that you have lied. You have lied to the club. You've lied to the fans. You've lied to the supporters about money's tight. Financial fair play is a real big problem. We have to sell to buy. You've been exposed because money's been there all along, isn't it? If you needed to sack the manager and bring a new manager in. So Man United can hide behind their lies and they can hide behind their bullshit, but no one's going to believe them anymore. And especially not me. I've never believed the excuses because they've got nowhere to hide. And the left back's a big problem. And that's affecting the whole play from the back four. I think you're still seeing solid performances from the two centre-backs, from Martinez and De Ligt. But I don't think it's helping Martinez at left back. And I don't think it's helping De Ligt, because De Ligt's ending up being used next to Lindelof. You're seeing Mazraoui at right back and then Martinez at left back. Lindelof isn't good enough. He shouldn't be starting games for Manchester United. Yeah, he shouldn't be starting games for this football club. Lindelof should not be getting used. But he's having to get used because of the injury problems, because of the crisis we've got. At the end of the day, if they're not good enough, they should be getting selected. We need that centre-back strong partnership to prevent the attacking opposition from attacking our back four, from attacking our goal. And I think when De Ligt sees Martinez ain't next to him, he shits himself. And I think Martinez is the same, because they realise Lindelof isn't good enough. They realise Dalot isn't good enough. And then, the only comfortable position we've got is where Mazraoui's then in at right back. That really benefits the back four. When you've got Mazraoui, De Ligt and Martinez, they're the really only three solid back four players we've got. Because I don't trust Lindelof, I don't trust Maguire, and I don't trust Dalot. And I also do not trust Johnny Evans. That's four already who should not be at this football club, but are all still here, playing under a new manager, who are all going to get a chance again. If Man United are going to get real, you've got to remove Lindelof, you've got to remove Maguire, you've got to get rid of Dalot, and you've got to get rid of Johnny Evans. And at the end of the day, if you've got to terminate these players' contracts, at the end of the day, I don't really care. I've got no sympathy. I'm not going to get my violin out for you. If they're not good enough, they shouldn't be at this football club anyway. You've got to start taking risks. And I think that, for me, has to happen Thursday. We have got to start taking risks for Thursday. If we want to survive in the Europa League and we want to win this game on Thursday, we have to start dropping these players. We need to stop using Delo. We need to stop using Rashford. We need to stop using Lindelof. And we need to stop using Rashford. There's the 4 problem solutions that can be solved quite quickly. But again, Man United, well, certain players we want selected, certain players we want to start because it's in their contracts. At the end of the day, let the manager get on with it. Let him do his job. Stop trying to interfere your nose and poking your rear into the manager's team selection. Because I don't think Ruud van Nistelrooy's picking this team, in my view. I think it's Ineos. I think it's the board. I think it's the owners. I think it's the coaches. I think they're trying to get Ruud van Nistelrooy exposed. They're trying to force Ruud van Nistelrooy to become the problem. Ruud van Nistelrooy is not the problem at this football club. I am blaming Ineos, and I'm blaming the Glazers, and I'm blaming Erik ten Hag. Because if we don't win Thursday, everyone's going to be like, well, this is on Ruud van Nistelrooy. He picked this team. He picked this setup. He picked this formation. He's picking these players. Well, go and look at the bigger picture. We needed Ruben Amorim in now. Where is he? Oh, we can't get him into another 3 weeks. Oh, that's good, isn't it? That was really, really good negotiating for Manchester United, wasn't it? We'll let Ruben Amorim stay for the next 2 Sporting Lisbon games. We're going to go on a 2-week international break that no one really cares about because it's shit and it's quite frankly boring. No one wants to watch Lee Carsley ball for England. But we're going to bring him in on our first away game against Ipswich Town. Right, so we could have had him in for the next 3 games before then, but we're not bringing him to another 3 weeks later. So if it goes wrong Thursday and we lose to Paok and we get embarrassed by them, who are you going to blame then? Who are you going to blame? Because I'm not blaming Ruud. I've got to blame Ineos and the board and the owners for not getting a new manager in now. Where is he? Like, why is he not in now? Can I just question this? Why is the new manager not in now? Why is Ruben Amorim not here? It's because of Ineos. It's because of the Glazers. It's because of the board. Oh, we've got to pay compensation. Right. Okay. We'll let him stay for a while. Let him have a proper goodbye. And then what happens then? If we fuck up these next 3 games, which we're probably all going to do. And I'll tell you what happens if we draw this game Thursday and we don't beat Leicester Sunday and it's 3 points from 9. Then what happens? Then what? Because if we don't win Thursday, goodbye the Europa League. Goodbye our European season over. Because I just can't see us turning this around. 3 points from 9 is shit.
Right.
Yeah. 3 points from 9 is crap. Then what happens? Oh, the new manager bounce will help. Yeah, it will really help when we should have won our first 3 Europa League games. We should have beat Chelsea on Sunday.
Actually, check the post box.
Yeah, nothing.
Right.
Ruud van Nistelrooy is in a really shit position here as our interim manager, and I feel sorry for him. But again, you've got to blame the logistics of how this football club is run. It's a bloody circus. It's a pantomime. It is. It's just a theatre, isn't it, really? It's just a laughing stock that we're having to beat opposition like Paok in the Europa League. Like, if we don't beat them, then goodbye European season will be over. Because we're going to end up slipping into that elimination zone. And once we're in it and we go out, we're out of Europe altogether. There's no going into Europa Conference League. We are out of Europe complete for the rest of the season. And if we go in there, it's going to be the biggest L Manchester United have faced in European history. Because without European football next season, that's going to screw everything up for Ruben Amorim. But again, we've gone through the team. You've gone who I would pick. You've gone through who I would select. And you're going to have to hope Manchester United start producing miracles in the Europa League and we start turning this European campaign around. I think we'll win the game, but Man United are going to have to absolutely put their foot on the gas. They're really going to have to go for it Thursday and win by 6-7 goals because it needs to improve. We need to start getting into a winning position and then throwing it away 5-10 minutes later because that's what happened against Chelsea. Scoreline wise, I'm going to go 5 or 6-0 because I think Paok will be there for the taking. But again, let's see what happens Thursday night. So I hope you enjoyed this UEFA Europa League look ahead. Please hit the like button and the share button. Please hit the subscribe button if you are new to this channel, which is United Red Devils 20 on YouTube. Share the video, hit the tweet button, hit the retweet button. Remember to always remember the notification bell. Put the bell on at all times to receive dedicated and upcoming brand new content of videos and shorts and live streams that we've got planned in these last 2 months in 2024, in November and in December. Obviously, if you put that bell on, you will see all these brand new bits of content on the channel for the rest of the year. And then obviously, please join me for the full-time reaction from Old Trafford on Thursday night, which hopefully will be our first European win this season. Hopefully, it will be another embarrassing result. And hopefully, Manchester United won't throw away another winning position. But if we've done it in our first 3 Europa League games, do not be surprised if Paok come to Old Trafford and get an unlikely result on Thursday night. But let's see what happens. So enjoy your Tuesday afternoon. Stay safe, be nice and be kind to each other. You're all legends, you're all legendary, and I'll see you all on the next one.